Mr. Chairman, I do have a little bit I want to say about this. First, I want to, and I appreciate the bill and the bill's intent. We're supportive of that, and that's not a problem, Mr. Michon and the other Mr. Collins on this for their work on H.R. 3716. This is much-needed legislation. It seeks to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in taxpayer programs. In the spirit of H.R. 3716, I'd like to highlight my transparency amendment to the bill that I'm offering along with my colleagues, Mr. Carter, Mr. Blum, Mr. Loebsack, Mr. Crawford, and Mr. Barletta. Our amendment would expand on current generic drug transparency provisions in Medicare Part D and move to address the complete lack of transparency on this front in the FEHBP and the DOD TRICARE. Most do not understand that as the price of generic medications skyrocket, neither the pharmacy provider responsible for purchasing or dispensing the drug nor the plan sponsor responsible for paying the benefits has any access to these prices. Only one entity, the pharmacy benefit manager, has access to such pricing data while acting as both judge and juror by setting the cost of the drug to the patient and plan sponsor, determining what the pharmacy is reimbursed. PBMs like to talk about making health care affordable, but in doing so, they fail to realize that they must also make health care accessible. Local pharmacists play a vital role in America's neighborhoods and communities, particularly in more rural areas such as my district in Northeast Georgia and others across the country. They provide unparalleled guidance and assistance and resources for families, including my own. Unlike my local pharmacists in Hall County and those across the nation, PBMs do not have real relationships with patients. Today, the community pharmacist routinely incurs losses of approximately $100 or in some cases more on individual prescriptions because PBMs reimburse pharmacies well below the cost to acquire and dispense generic prescription drugs that have skyrocketed in price. The PBMs may wait weeks or months to update the reimbursement benchmarks they use to compensate pharmacies while drug prices increase virtually overnight. This situation jeopardizes pharmacists' ability to continue to serve patients before it leaves community pharmacists with unsustainable losses. My amendment would preserve the pharmacy's access for patients by requiring PBMs to update their maximal allowable cost, MAC, benchmarks every 7 days to better reflect market cost and to allow pharmacists to know the source by which PBMs set reimbursements for his or her community pharmacists. I would also like to make sure patients have more pharmacy choices. Patients would not be forced by PBMs to use PBM-owned pharmacies, an obvious conflict of interest. According to the Medicare data, PBM-owned mail-order pharmacies may charge plans more, as much as 83% more, to fill prescriptions than community pharmacists. Providing for the greater transparency within the prescription drug pricing system would not result in any negative fiscal impact, nor would it hinder the current marketplace negotiation abilities. When considered with the generic drug pricing transparency requirements required with Medicare Part D as of January 1, 2016, CMS actually said, over the past 3 years, both state legislatures and federal entities have begun to recognize that the current system with no transparency regarding how prescription medications are priced and reported is neither efficient or fiscally responsible. In addition to Medicare Part D, 26 states have now found it necessary to enact state laws requiring the measures proposed within my amendment. All states have done so with no resulting negative fiscal impact. Preserving patient access to pharmacies is one of my top priorities in Congress. Like many, I hope to continue to visit my hometown pharmacists for years to come. Unfortunately, without the needed transparency that my amendment provides, we will continue to watch mom-and-pop pharmacies close their doors. In looking at this, I recognize, as my friend Mr. Carter from Georgia as well, that this may not be the place that we get to talk about this or we get it into action. But it is a place in which I can talk about it. And I guarantee you that over the past 24 hours, we have made some folks in D.C. have to stand up and take notice because they have wore out the email system talking about how bad this is, and also members of the committee staff saying this is not something that we need to take up because of supposed problems. At this point in time, I agree with my friend from New York. We need a full and fair hearing of this issue. We need to look at this. Because at a certain point in time when states are going back and reconsidering their, quote, cost savings methods and finding that they're not saving money, in fact, they're costing money, when you have PBMs threatening local pharmacists not to talk to their local county officials or elected officials, and they're threatening with their contracts, if they hand deliver a prescription, one of a local pharmacist actually took a prescription to a customer and got a letter from the PBM saying you're not in the business of delivery or mail order. I'm sorry. If 3 companies can have over 80% of the market, they can do whatever they want to do. And right now, they're running roughshod over this market. They may have pulled some nice, fun numbers to show, but I tell them, come stand in my part of the world. Come stand with community pharmacists, when they can't even communicate and they get letters from their PBM saying, you will not talk about this, or we will have adverse effects to your contract. As I have said before, in other cases, the PBMs may be able to audit my friends in the independent pharmacy world. They cannot audit me, and they will not continue to do this. I will continue to push this as much as I possibly can. I do understand the considerations of committee at this point, but I think what we can do sometimes is maybe not move an amendment, but we can definitely talk about an issue. And believe me, this is one they didn't want to talk about this week, because when shined upon, when light is put on something, the disinfectant is strong. And in this case, this needs to be addressed. And my hope from my friends on the committee is that we will take this up. And with that, I look forward to H.R. 244. Any members who would like to be a part of that, that is a standalone bill that we're talking about. I appreciate Mr. Carter being here for his support. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Florida.